Basically, if this glass panel were to divide my body, it would divide me front to back. So a frontal movement is anything I can do this way. Does that make sense? So nothing's going that way, nothing's going up or down. Yeah? So this is frontal. Okay. The next one is sagittal. This is the second of the dimensions. Sagittal is front to back. So if I cut myself in half, the sagittal divides me into two sides, right and left. Okay, so a sagittal movement is walking, running, anything backpedaling, crab walks forward and backwards. Anything I'm doing this way, that's a sagittal motion. Okay. The last one, the third dimension, T, transverse. Transverse, if this mirror were horizontal and it cut me in half here, it's going to divide me into a top and a bottom. Transverse movement is anything twisting, going along with that mirror. So anybody want to participate in the pop quiz real quick? Just to recap, we learned through repetition, so I want to throw it back at you guys. What's the frontal? Yep, Randy's got it side to side. Yep. What is sagittal? Front to back. And transverse?
Up and down.
Twist. But yeah, it's going to divide us top to bottom, and that motion is a twist. Okay. Now this is really cool. You guys live near the old FST, Functional Strength Training. That also is FST, Frontal Sagittal Transverse. That's also the sequence that we do exercises in. When you come in, you guys will notice we never twist you right away. Never. Never twist you right away. Frontal is always the easiest plane for our body to understand, and that's strap presses, right? Strap press, we're going out. Pillow squeezes, we're coming in, right? We're going with that frontal plane. Sagittal is stuff like this. Bridges, that's all sagittal movement. And then transverse, that's when we get into the twisting. Okay, good so far?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Okay. Let me do this. Instead of having the levels over here, I'm going to switch this to the planes. And I'm going to start over with exercises. Because from this grid, this is the grid that's going on in our heads, that every single training that we do with somebody is following that grid, but we're asking ourselves questions like, do they need a frontal exercise that goes out or a frontal exercise that comes in? Do they need sagittal this way or sagittal this way? Stuff like that that is going to tell us which exercises to pick and which ones to throw out. So let's do an example here. Also, real quick, FST, frontal sagittal transverse. The way to remember which one, or remember the order. This was total accident and coincidence and probably only works in the English language. Bill? Yeah? First, second, third. Easy. Again, probably only works in English because in other languages they're probably different. But it helps us. Alright, so first, second, third. So in the order, in the sequencing that we do, first, second, third, and hips are also first before shoulders and shoulders before core. Now, if we were to draw numbers 1 through 9, it'll look like this. The first batch of exercises you guys do when you come in is going to be hips frontal. The second batch of exercises that you do is going to be hips sagittal. The third, then we're going to do hips transverse. Then we've got the hips. Hips are wrapped up like a little package. Now we can move on to the shoulders. Shoulders frontal, shoulders sagittal, shoulders transverse, and then core, just like that. So over the span of an hour, we roughly go through that. And we have exercises at each of those levels. Okay. That makes sense so far? Yeah? Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, Sue.
Is there sometimes when you don't need one of those, or you shouldn't have one of those because you're over developed in one muscle group?
Yes. And usually what that'll look like is we'll still do, okay. Can I erase the numbers? You guys got that? This is gonna, let me show you something to demonstrate this, to answer Sue's question. In hips frontal, let's just focus on that one box right here, frontal hips. What's frontal motion again? Right, side to side. So anyone want to volunteer and do a frontal hip motion? Hip only. So this is frontal, right? But that's not hips. So what would a frontal hip be if you guys were to guess? Yeah. You've never even seen our exercises and you got it.
Go CJ.
So anything this way, right? So let's do specifically this one, outer thighs. Frontal hip exercise, right? Okay. Now, who knows the opposite of outer thighs? Inner thighs. So that looks like this. Still frontal, right? But it goes the opposite. So, if I were designing a program for somebody, these two are generally in it. If you, let's say for example, your feet turn way out, your knees rotate way out, and you're just really tight here, and that pulls everything out, and you have no strength in here. In this case, I wouldn't skip the whole square, but I would be able to cross out one direction in that plane. Same thing with, especially sagittal plane, this way. Most of us are here, typing, driving, and we're slouching forward. So in that particular case, that's core, part of my body, sagittal. So in that case, I might completely cross out flexion. And I might completely focus on the extension. Again, I'm still working that box. So in this box is flexion, extension. But because this individual who comes in is already in flexion, I might completely cross that out and focus on the extension. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. Okay. You guys want to get some practical application of this? Okay. So let's get you guys on your backs. It's like a mini class here. Okay. So, for those of you who are in class, this is going to ring a bell too, because this was generally the sequence that I went. Okay, so knees are bent, feet flat on the floor. We're going to do in and out. So touch your knees together, bring your knees apart. Touch your knees together, bring them apart. Okay, who thinks they know what plane this is? Frontal plane, yep. And it's obviously a hip motion. So we have hips frontal, that's why a lot of times we start with this. And we didn't really talk about this too much, but you know, we have 3 levels. So you can do a hips frontal exercise in multiple levels. We call them level 1, 2, and 3, really beginner, intermediate, advanced. What would you guess this one is?
Beginner.
Beginner, yeah. So this is a level 1, beginner, hips frontal exercise. Now we're in 3 dimensions. We don't just have a grid, we have a Rubik's Cube with 3 different criteria, right? So we have hips, level 1, frontal, that's it, right? Hips, level 1, yeah, beginner, and frontal. Good. So those 3 classifications. Okay, let's stay with the hips. Let's stay with frontal. Now we're going to take the same exercise and go to level 2. We did this in, yep, Nick's got it.
Feet off the ground?
Feet off the ground, 90-90 position, in and out. Now this, I think, alone is the reason why you guys have had questions about whether or not you're progressing. Because we will just take an exercise out of your program and give you a new one. These 2 exercises, though, that you just did, we consider them the same exercise, just different levels of them. So now you're doing, in a sense, in and out, but you're in a different position. Okay, so this is a level...
Wait.
Yeah, Danny.
Okay, so you're going
you're isolating a plane, and
Yeah.
you're pushing it through 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
Okay, difficulty level.
We isolate a body part and a plane,
Yeah,
and then we go, yeah.
okay.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so that was level
2.
2, exactly. Any guesses on level 3?
Straight leg?
Straight leg, yep. Now this is where it gets really cool. This is why I really like this type of workout, is that there's no judgment. If you're at a 3 in this exercise, but then we try another exercise and you're in a 2, who cares, right? You just do the one that you can do. So if you're trying to straighten your legs and you can't straighten them, no big deal. You just bend your knees. If your knees are bent and you go in and out and something's happening, maybe it's wrenching your back or something like that, no problem. We just put your feet on the floor. So in that way, everything is adjustable. Everything is modifiable. Cool. Okay, go ahead and rest. You guys have any questions on that?
Quick question. On
Yeah,
that
Jim.
one, if you couldn't extend your legs straight up, would you put them straight out and at an angle, or would you just bend them more to get this part?
What I would do is I would keep your upper leg straight up and down,
Okay.
and I would just straighten your knees as much as you can.
So don't worry
Keeping-
about height. Keep
well,
your legs straight.
As you see how your knees are going away from you though?
Yeah.
If that happens, you've gone up a little too far.
Okay.
Because one of the things in this exercise, when you're here, you have the hip flexors engaged. So if you're down here, that means your hip flexors aren't able to engage enough. So we just want to put them in a position where they can, even if it's right here, and little by little you'll be able to straighten it.
So
all
the
the way
knees
out.
stay on the hips, no matter what.
Right. Right. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions on that? Hips. So we saw hips, frontal,
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
So go to the next plane.
Yep. Well, we're gonna stay in the. We're gonna stay in the hips. We're going to the next plane. Hips. What is it? Sagittal. 1, 2, 3. Yep. So we did this, right? We did hips, frontal,
Right.
and let's actually. I'll write this in because this is what we just did, right? We did, and I'm gonna abbreviate, but HL is hook line, which is on your back. Most of you guys are in it right now. On your back, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Hook line, in, out. Then you did 90-90, in, out. And then you did the straight leg that Danielle's doing. I call it static wall in and out because it's the same position as a static wall. And then we've also started calling it static 90 because there's only one 90-degree angle. They're the same thing. So I'm just going to put static wall in, out though.
But wouldn't the wall be a modification for somebody who can't do this?
There you go, yeah. So there's another good, a good concept. This is a linear 1, 2, 3. But what happens if you're like a 2.5? What do? What if you can almost straighten out your legs? Or maybe you have the flexibility to straighten your legs, but when you try to do it here in the middle of the room, maybe you're like down here, right? We can put a wall, just flip you around, put a wall there, now you can go in and out and practice the range of motion that way. We call that scaffolding, which is a educational term, you know this, Katie, that we've learned by having 2 kids. When, like, say my son is trying to put on his shoes, I don't want to just jump in and do it for him, because that's teaching him that, oh, I don't know how to do it, my dad's just going to do it for me. But at the same time, he doesn't know how to do it 100% correctly. So I'll be just sitting there with him, and he's trying to put on his shoe, and then maybe I'll just help him with one little thing, and then I'll back out. That's scaffolding. So same thing here, we're just scaffolding the exercise, and then, oh, you guys gonna do a hip lift real quick? A couple of you guys, I did this. I went over and I just put my leg, and I held you here, and then real slowly I moved off, and then feel it gradually gets harder, right? I was just scaffolding, but my goal is to get out of there and let you do it. The main reason for scaffolding this exercise is if somebody, for example, can only pull to here, it might not be a strength issue, it might just be that she doesn't know how to feel it, and I might just say, okay, hold it right there, and then I'm going to very slowly move off, and then see if she can hold it, if she can. Yeah. So the scaffolding is kind of a way to navigate in between the 2 and the 3, or in between the 1 and the 2. Does That's a really cool concept. Okay, so let's go back to this real quick. So there's 1, 2, 3. Now we're at hips, sagittal. Okay, so let's do a 1, 2, 3 in the hips, sagittal. Andrea's got one, Stefan's got one. Oh, perfect. Both of you guys keep doing it. The two of them are doing the same exercise, different levels. So which one do you think is level 1? Stefan, level 1. Andrea's doing the level 2. Now this is where it gets tricky. So let me write this first. Stefan has his level 1. That one is the longest abbreviation that we have. It's called hook line, that's the position, isolated hip flexor lifts. Hook line, isolated hip flexor lifts. We thought about changing the name to something shorter, but we're like, it tells what it does. The name of it is the exercise, so it's fine. And the second one, the one Andrea is doing, is exactly the same, except she's straightening her leg. What that's doing is that's taking most of the center of gravity out. So she's having to lift a longer lever. Your leg actually it gets heavier as you extend it. It doesn't actually gain weight, but it feels heavier to the muscle. So there's more tension in the muscle. Okay, so that's supine leg raises. Now this is where it gets tricky. This is where, hey Chris, why'd you give me this exercise? Where did this come from? Okay, I'll show you guys. We get a stool here. Somebody want to volunteer?
Sure.
Sherry? Okay. Alright, Sherry's going to do the level 3 of the same ones that Stefan and Andrea were doing. So, hook line, isolated hip flexor lifts, and supine leg raises. You know what it is?
Stork.
Yep.
It's hard for me.
Okay. First, we'll get her in position, and then I'll tell you guys exactly what's happening and why it's the exact same exercise that Andrea was doing. Okay, so in this position, Sherry is squeezing her right thigh super tight. She's pushing down on her foot, on her left foot, so that she has equal weight in both feet. Now, what muscle do you feel? Or muscles do you feel?
Quad and
Yeah. So, in this position, if I were standing, I'm like this, right? Same position as Sherry's in. What's my right leg doing? That. It's pushing forward. Now, if you go ahead and stop pushing forward, does it go away? You feel nothing, right?
yeah,
Now go
nothing
ahead and
at all.
push. See if you guys can see. Go ahead and go back and forth, maybe 2 seconds of each. Push forward and then release. See that activity, how it engages all of a sudden? It literally is this motion. And because her foot is anchored to the floor, she can push a little bit, or she can push a lot, depending on her level, and that's like adding weight. It's like adding an ankle weight to that exercise. Cool. But there's no movement. Yeah. Another reason why this is such a great exercise, okay, you can rest here. Yeah, do the other side and balance it out. You guys all know the tower, right? You guys have all done the tower? Where you're just on your back, one leg is up, the other leg's out straight. The benefit of the tower is because we tend to have really tight hips in the front of the hips because we're here. This is an active tower. Pretty cool. So it's engaging this muscle, but it's opening it at the same time.
So how you think about these are isometric, essentially?
It's
How do you think about isometric versus movement?
Yeah. So let me write this first. WS wall store. So isometric is one of three different ways a muscle can work. So we have isometric. We have concentric, and I'll tell you what these all mean, and how we put them in layman's terms too. Concentric and eccentric. Okay, isometric is exactly what you just said, and exactly what Sherry did. It's muscle tension, but there's no movement either direction. So if I'm doing bicep curls and I just hold it there, that's working, but I'm not going up or down. Okay, that's isometric or static. Concentric, we also call this the positive part of the motion. Concentric is this. the muscle contracts and it shortens, like that. And then eccentric, we call this the negative, is when the muscle's still contracting, but it's lengthening. There's still tension there. And this is another way we can progress. Quick example, if you're trying to teach someone to do pull-ups, maybe somebody can't do this yet. This is the, what part of the motion? Concentric. This is the isometric. And eccentric, right? So if somebody can't do pull-ups this way, a lot of times what we'll have them do is do negatives. So either we can put a stool here, they can step up and then work on the negative, or you can jump, get yourself up there, and then work on the negative. Jump, negative. So that's actually a progression, a 1, 2, 3 progression in a higher level. That's in phase 2. I think level 2 and 3. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we have hips, frontal, 1, 2, 3. We have hip sagittal, 1, 2, 3. You guys notice too with this hip sagittal, it's only one direction, right? It's only forward. It's only flexion. So we could include in this box all the hips sagittal. That same progression is, things like bridges, one-legged bridge, donkey kicks. Those are all in that box. On kind of the other half of the box from here. Okay, ready to move to hips transverse? Okay, this is a little more challenging. Level 1. Any guesses? Yep, Stefan's got one. That one's called knee drop.
Almost level, you just did that.
Yep, that's 2.
The one with the hip lift and the crossover.
Yeah, hip twist. Yep. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, because this is core also. Yeah. And so what we did, because hips, when we divided these up into categories about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, the hips category had so many exercises, and the core didn't have as many. So we put all those in the core. Like even this one, we call that a core exercise, hip lift. It's called hip lift. We call it a core exercise. Yep. Hip circles. So that is level 2, perfect. So we'll go hip circles. And then the level 3, so hip circles, right here again?
Straight leg.
Straight leg, yep. Now, you guys see how that's just it's just a very small step. If you can do hip circles, and then you practice this for a few weeks, few months, and then, hey, you look pretty good at that, let's straighten out the leg. And the goal, remember this level 1, 2, and 3 fits up here in phase 1. So the goal of phase 1 is to get to the point where you finished all the level 1, the level 2, and the level 3 exercises. And now we can move to phase 2. That's the goal of that. Now let's go back to phase 1 though, and we'll finish up this hip, shoulders, core as if we're building a workout. So, real quick again, you guys want to do this real quick? Knee drop, hip circles, straight leg hip circles. So again, it's here. Knee drop, we're going laterally, we're twisting. Now even that one we did a little earlier, the in and out, this, we could theoretically call this a transverse because your femur, your leg bone is rotating in your socket. Okay, let's do knee circles or hip circles. Bent leg. And now let's straighten the knee and go around. Straighten that knee all the way. Now we can, every time you do an exercise and you do it in a way that's not 100% ideal, we have a little checklist in our brain. Like earlier, remember we did this one? So obviously somebody who can't do this probably can't do this, right? So that's where we can watch you do 1 or 2 exercises and kind of have a really good idea of what the entire program is going to look like. We still can adjust along the way, but we're going to have a really good idea of what that program is going to look like. All right, done with hips. Any questions on the hips? Good? All right. So, now with shoulders, I'm going to do, I didn't do this with hips because I didn't want to overcomplicate it too soon. But remember, if we have a frontal is this way, right? So you have a left and you have a right. Right. So we don't necessarily have to do it in frontal, but in sagittal and, you know what, let's just keep it simple. Let's just do it in sagittal only. Okay. Sorry, I'll get to it in a second. Okay, shoulders frontal. Any guesses? Yeah. Stefan's got it.
Angels.
Yeah. So you just, yeah, you did one, right? You did this one?
Yeah.
So in the standing position, that's called side lateral raises. That is a level 2. And in the level 1, it's what Danielle's doing, snow angels, which is the exact same motion, but on your back. And then the level 3 of this, have you done this, Mike? I don't know. You're a level 3 on this one? Do you guys know what it is?
On the wall?
Jim, Bill?
On the wall?
It's on the wall, so.
Yeah, there's a wall and you put it down.
Exactly. Yeah, you just did this yesterday, right? That's what I thought. Okay. Side lateral raises, level 2, right? It's like I'm laying in the snow, but I'm vertical, and I'm going against gravity here.
Coming off the wall?
Yeah.
Now, level 3, take a little step forward. We can put pillows at your wall, pillows at your back, and you reach back. Already I should be feeling a little bit of work, and now I'm coming up. And the range of motion is going to be a little bit smaller, but it's just that little progression, little by little. And then we can play around with different variations here. If we can get you in here, Superman. This is Mayumi's favorite. So, snow angels, side lateral raises, and the last one is called off-wall side lateral raises. So there's that frontal progression. Now, shoulders sagittal. I'm going to do this again because remember with the hips we had this way, which is flexion, and then we had this way, which is extension. Same thing with shoulders. We can go here. We could also go here. So we could do either one. Any ideas? Anything? Any shoulder exercise, sagittal. Could be front, back, any level.
That drop.
Pull, the pullover?
Pullover.
Yep, pullover is a level 1. Let me think. Let me just keep it. Let me just go level 1. Pullover. Okay, let's stick with the pullover. So you guys know what a level 2 pullover is?
With weight.
With a weight. Yep. So we'll just do weighted pullover. Level 3. So that one, that's core. That's pullovers with leg raises. And so this is a good example too of how the levels relate to each other. What Andrea's talking about is this one. You flatten the back, and you go up and down here, which would be pretty hard unless you knew how to do a regular pullover. So that's also prerequisite. But yeah, that is a core.
Somebody, standing.
Standing pullovers.
With the weights.
Yeah. Standing pullover first, and then you start adding weight. So what that looks like is your back is against the wall, you're standing or sitting. You can hold a bar, or you can try it here. The bar is a little easier, and you go up, back.
That's the level 3.
That's the level 3. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. And let's go shoulders transverse. Rotate, right? Arm circles?
Twisting,
Arm circles is a level 2.
up and down? No. Side to side.
So transverse is real easy to think about like this, right? This is core twisting, right? This is core transverse. Yeah, rotator cuff.
Oh.
So let's go down that direction. Rotate. Let's do the rotator cuff sequence. So side lying rotator cuff Actually, Mayumi, can you demonstrate?
I'm not good at this.
Sideline rotator cuff. Yep, you're good enough. Okay. The next level, level 2, is sitting or standing rotator, which is here, right here. Yeah. This is a static hold for 1 minute. So this is sitting, standing rotator cuff. Level 3 is,
Oh, it's this,
that one is, I think that we're putting that in the core, but that is a prerequisite. This is a prerequisite to be able to do that for sure. Level 3, we have you do with the cable. So it's more of a strength builder that way. So it's cable rotator. Okay. Any questions on that?
Where does
Okay.
the sideline with the weight go then?
Level 1.
That's the level 1, even in terms of weight.
Yeah. So, and we decided this pretty recently actually. For the most part, no, pullovers is the exception, but for the most part, adding weight to an exercise will not take it to the next level. It's just more weight of that level. Pullovers is the exception because it completely changes the exercise, whether you have weight or whether you don't have weight. Completely different exercise. That's the only reason for pullovers. Okay. Okay, frontal core. Yep,
windows?
windmill.
Windmills on the wall or
Yeah.
standing?
Either.
Either.
Yeah. Standing with your back against the wall will just keep you, it'll keep it single planar
Right,
instead of
right.
that. It'll keep it just one plane. So yeah, that's windmill. Okay, so windmill's a 1. Okay, this is another exception to what I was just saying to you, Andrea. Adding a weight does take it to the next level. Weighted windmills. You hold a weight in just one hand, and you go down. This is my weight. This takes me down. Why is that my weight? This is my weight. I'm already holding it. This is my weight. It's going to take me down. I know I didn't talk about this a lot. Eccentric and concentric. Remember, concentric is the positive, eccentric is the negative. So if I'm going down, eccentric on this side. Now I'm going to contract it. That's my concentric coming up through the range. Now I'm going to release this. Eccentric, my negative. Concentric. Okay. So that's weighted windmill. And then level 3, I don't, oh yeah, okay. Sherry, you want to show?
That's such a hard one.
No, it's okay, it's okay. We have 2 in this category that lead from windmill. Extended lateral, which is what I'm doing with the knee bent. This is a yoga pose. And triangle, which is knee straight, here. See how it's the same motion though, right? Okay, so I'm just going to put triangle. Okay. You guys have any questions so far? I'm going to motor through the last 2 real quick and then we can wrap it up. Okay, sagittal core. You can't use crunches. Anything else? You're on transverse already. Yeah,
Sorry.
it's okay. Remember sagittal.
Or we can't use crunches?
Favorite exercise. I'm gonna say you can't use crunches as an answer right now because that's the super popular sagittal core exercise that you see at every gym.
The penny one.
That's more of a full body. Think, and that's more of
Yeah,
legs.
you're moving.
So think midsection.
Bottom
This is a top 5 exercise, guys. Cats and dogs. Okay.
I think of that as a break.
Yeah.
As a break.
That's a bonus.
So cats and dogs is a level 2. Pelvic tilts is a level 1. And level 3 for that one.
Cats and dogs sagittal. I'm trying to.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so now with cats and dogs, because we go extension, flexion, we can go in multiple directions. A level 3 for this could be Superman. It could be hollow body. You guys know
Okay.
both of those hollow bodies here?
Yeah.
Superman is here.
Yeah.
So, we'll just put Superman there. Okay. And then core transverse.
So the level 3 is core roll?
Core roll. Core roll's a level 2.
2? I don't know if there's more than
Core roll's a level 2. You can make it a level 1 with using your hands and feet to help you over. So core roll, this one. No hands, no feet. And then you can use your hands. That makes it a level 1. Yeah. It's that easy. A level 3 for core roll. The reason why core roll is not a level 3 is because you can keep going. You can go here. You can go. You have to stop the motion and go back. Here. Stop. Go back. That exercise is called Superman dodging bullets.
That's a level 3.
Except someone told me, well, why would Superman need to dodge a bullet? The bullets are made of kryptonite. And then for level 1, Daniel, you want to do the twist? Hip twist?
Oh, so that is a level 1.
The hip twist is a level 1. So go up and down. That's a level 1. Now do a hip lift. Now twist down. That's a level 2. Now straighten your left leg. And go down. Level 3 and kick some air. So hip twist. So there are multiple exercises in each category. So big picture, what we have done, we have started with our phases, right? Phase 1, 2, and 3. Within each phase, there's level 1, 2, and 3. So levels 1 through 9, basically. By the way, the phase 2 is resistance. Phase 3 is athletics. Resistance includes weights and body weight exercises like pull-ups and dips and stuff like that. Athletics is, actually we did some athletics today. Some of the squats, some of this type of stuff. Single leg squat, that's athletic. Throwing in some plyometrics, stuff like that. That's all same principles as this with the progression, but higher level. Today we did mostly baseline. So within that baseline, phase 1, broke it into hip, shoulders, core, frontal, sagittal, transverse. Within each of those boxes, we have levels. Within each level, even though I wrote hook, line, in and out, there are probably 4 or 5 more exercises that we have that are hips level 1. Hips level 2, 90-90, in, out. There's a couple more that we have. Knee pillow squeezes, strap presses, stuff like that. But this is why we have so many exercises, because we have this big format, and then we just plug in exercises. Yeah. And again, big picture, the reason why this is so important, I think, is because you're hitting every body part, you're hitting every range of motion, or every plane, and then you're hitting every range within the plane. So I have hips, I have sagittal, I have flexion, extension within that sagittal. And I know that if I hit that range, I'm going to get all the hip flexors in this, come in here, I'm going to get all the hip extensors going back, and all that leads to more of a balanced body, feeling better, and that's why you feel like you're walking on clouds when you leave. So, hopefully that gives you guys a good general foundation. Does anyone have any questions right now? Any clarification? Anything not make sense?
If you can't do something, do you go back to the one that you can do, and then, but how do you, like, I think of like lifting weights, somebody spots you to get to the next level, how do you get to the straight leg, for example, on any of those? If you can't do it, are there exercises in between those? to get there, or-
So, I showed you guys I showed you the scaffolding, right? The example with Danielle, putting your legs on a wall. So that's one technique, is the scaffolding. Another technique, and we actually didn't talk about this, there are 2 ways that I'll know whether or not you can do something. Or, excuse me, 2 deviations. 2 types of deviations. You could be either deviating in your form, like when you try to get into the 90 position, that's a form deviation. The other deviation is called a time deviation. So for example, if you're trying to do this and you can't do it, that's your form deviation.
Yeah.
If the key is that if there's ever a form deviation, you come out of the exercise. 100%. Stop the exercise. If there's just a time deviation, you keep going, but you can break it up into 10 seconds at a time or whatever. So in this example, you can't do this, so you have to do this, and then let's say you're going in and out, and at about 40 seconds you start to get, oh man, I can't hold it, you're getting tired. Then just stop. In that case, that's still a good exercise for you, but you want to break it up into maybe 2 sets of 30 seconds or 4 sets of 15. Now, so that's along the same path though that we've just been talking about, 1, 2, 3. We also have tangents that we can take you on. Mayumi loves tangents. They're the best. And this is another. Sorry, I said that to you when you were drinking your green drink. You couldn't laugh. Okay. I'm a visual person, and I think this will help you guys. Can I erase all this? Okay. I'll just do the bottom. Okay. All that kind of the format that we use. We're going along this this path here, and we know generally what we're going to give you until something comes up. A little, I don't want to say red flag, but just something comes up like, oh, he's not able to do this one or that one. Then we'll take a little tangent road and come back. And then we might have to go out here and come back. And then there are all these exercises out here that we can pull from. So for example, like Jim, go ahead and do the 90 position. I'll show you guys. Actually, let's do a quick example for everyone, just so you can go ahead and get in the middle. And I'll just train you real quick. Okay, so in that we have, go ahead and line back. Remember level 1, level 2, level 3, okay? So Jim, go ahead and do 90-90, that position. Go in and out. Okay, good form, yeah? His form is good? Go ahead and try to straighten your legs. Can't get there. Okay, so now we know you're between a 2 and a 3. Go ahead and try again and tell me where you feel it. What's stopping you from straightening your legs? Tight here. Tight hamstring. Now, the tangent is loosening the hamstrings. And we know through the concept that Grant was talking about, reciprocal inhibition, to loosen the hamstrings, one of the best ways to do that is to strengthen the quads. So now my program for you is going to follow that road. Okay, we need to stretch his hamstrings, we need to strengthen his quads. And I may pick, I may have you have ankle weights on your leg and do this. That's a quad strengthener. It could be, 5 exercises that I give you as a quad strengthening program, and that's probably going to be your homework, because that's going to open up that exercise.
Yeah, so the ones you listed on that chart are more benchmarks. There's exercises to get to those benchmarks.
Exactly.
They're not, they are exercises, the benchmarks as well, but to get to them, you have to.
Right. And one of the reasons we chose those particular exercises as benchmarks, they are great exercises, and they are great assessment tools.
Yeah.
So that if I put you in that benchmark, the knees bent, or try to go knees straight, that tells me really quickly, I could come up with a whole bunch of exercises to give you just to pass that benchmark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But I also think that the tangents are the individual customized piece,
Yes.
right? So
Exactly.
that helps answer her question. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Katie. She wanted to know why some exercises don't work. And so the story kind of goes like, okay, so you're going around cruising through life. You do something that, you probably didn't do last week, and you come in and you're trying to do the same exercises that don't work. And so that's why the don't work comes in, and then you move out to a customized part to help you get to the next step. Probably because you did something during, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That you didn't do before, the week before.
That's a good way to put it.
Thanks.
Cool. The tangents, this is where the customization comes in. Because, so to wrap it up, this is the perfect segue, because I am moving toward full disclosure. I want you guys to know everything. I want you guys to be smarter than the personal trainers down the street. And that starts with me just putting it out there. So on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, we've created playlists. erase the boxes. But for each of these, we have a hips level 1, we have a shoulders level 1, we have a core level 1, hips level 2, shoulders level 2. All those 9 boxes, we have the benchmark exercises of that level. Now this is where I finally got to this point. I was scared that other trainers would steal our stuff. Honestly, that's what I was thinking. Everyone's going to copy us. And then I saw a lot of things. One, everyone puts all their stuff online anyway, and then they still want to come in. So I wasn't worried about that. And then did you guys hear about what Tesla did recently?
Mm-hmm.
This is amazing. You know, Tesla had this technology to, this one battery would go a couple 100 miles. And they had all these patents on that technology. And then they released the patents. They said, here, you guys can have them. They opened it up. Chevy, Ford, everyone can just steal their stuff now because it's not theirs anymore. They gave it up. They gave up the patents. And that struck me as being the way that I want to go with this. Because I'm not here to monopolize. I want to educate. And the YouTube videos that I put online, to bring it back here, are this big arrow. The tangents, that's what we want to help you guys with, are those tangents. How's your program going? What roadblocks are there? And how can we help you get around them based on what we know and what we've seen? So I hope this helps you guys, again, navigate this path so that we can focus on those little tangents and getting into those details. Yeah. Good? So, a couple resources again. The YouTube videos. Watch those, practice those. Whatever ones you're not good at, do those. Secondly, as far as just the mindset, the philosophy behind this, I've been doing one podcast every single day. It's audio only, and it's only 10 minutes. They're on iTunes and on our website.